So, I'm not usually the guy who comes on here to rant or ask for advice, but my friends keep telling me I need to get it out before I lose my mind. I've been married to my wife, Claire, for 6 years. For the first 3, I honestly thought I'd hit the jackpot. She was fun, charming, and had this confidence that could light up a room. But over the past year, I don't know, something in her tone changed. She'd go from sweet to snappy in seconds, like I'd accidentally flipped a switch I didn't know existed. The arguments weren't even about real things sometimes. One time she accused me of forgetting to close the fridge door, and I literally had video footage from our security cam showing her leaving it open. She just laughed and said, "Well, you should have reminded me." That's how it started. Little lies, twisted logic, and this subtle erosion of trust. Nothing explosive yet, but I could feel a shift. The weirdest part? Around the same time, I had signed up for this 21-day challenge my buddy sent me. Basically, a guided program to reprogram your mindset for success. It had daily tasks, journaling, affirmations, and, ironically, a focus on clear communication. I was doing it mostly for my own personal growth, but I didn't realize it would start making me really notice the crap in my marriage. Like, once you start paying attention to your thoughts and habits, you can't unsee how someone else is constantly poking holes in your peace of mind. And that was before the real curveballs started hitting about a week into my 21-day challenge. I came home from work early. Claire had told me she was going to her friend Melissa's to help pick out nursery paint, since Melissa was pregnant. That was around noon. When I pulled into our driveway at 2 p.m., her car was there. My first thought, oh, maybe Melissa canceled. But then I noticed something weird. The blinds in the living room were half closed. We never do that during the day. I walked inside, and it was quiet. Too quiet. Then I heard it, the faint sound of our shower running upstairs. Now, here's where my brain tried to protect me. I assumed she'd come home and decided to shower before heading out again. Totally normal, right? But then I saw them, a pair of men's sneakers by the door. Not my sneakers. Not any male friend's sneakers I recognized. I froze. My chest felt like it was collapsing in on itself. I wanted to storm up the stairs, but something in me, maybe the challenge work on pause and assess before reacting, made me step back. Instead, I quietly grabbed my phone and took a picture of the sneakers. A few minutes later, the shower turned off, and I heard muffled voices. Then, the sound of a door upstairs shutting. Claire came down alone, her hair wet, wearing my hoodie. And she just smiled and said, "Hey babe, didn't know you'd be home this early." I was just about to run to Melissa's. I asked her whose shoes those were. Without missing a beat, she said, "Oh, those? They're Jake's. He dropped them off because he bought the wrong size for my cousin's boyfriend." Everything in me was screaming lie, but I swallowed it. For now, the 21-day challenge said to collect data before making emotional conclusions. I didn't realize how much that line was going to become my survival tool. 2 days later, I was at my buddy Matt's garage helping him change brake pads when my phone buzzed. It was a text from Melissa, Claire's supposed pregnant friend. "Melissa, hey, haven't seen you guys in a while. When are you and Claire coming over?" That one sentence hit me like a crowbar to the ribs. I called her right away. Me. "Hey, didn't Claire help you pick paint this week?" Melissa. No? I haven't seen Claire in months. I didn't even know you were thinking about painting anything." That's when I knew I wasn't being paranoid. This wasn't just a misunderstanding. Claire had straight up fabricated an alibi. I didn't tell Melissa anything right then, just said I must have been mistaken. But my hands were shaking the whole drive home. When I got in, Claire was on the couch, scrolling through her phone like nothing in the world was wrong. I sat down and just said, "Melissa says she hasn't seen you in months." She didn't blink, didn't flinch. She just laughed and said, "Oh my God, she's probably messing with you." You know, she's got a sarcastic sense of humor. The arrogance of that answer. It actually made my stomach turn. That's when I decided, I'm not confronting her anymore without evidence. The 21-day challenge had a module about detaching from immediate emotional reaction. It was supposed to help me stay calm in business situations. Now, I was using it to survive my marriage. So I started keeping a notebook, times, dates, lies, weird behaviors. Not because I wanted to stay married, but because I knew something big was coming. I just didn't know how big. It was day 11 of my 21-day challenge. The day's task was about identifying hidden patterns in your environment that affect your mental state. I figured I'd just do my journaling at lunch and move on. But then, at around 3 p.m., my phone buzzed, a notification from our shared cloud storage. Claire had accidentally uploaded a batch of photos from her phone. Normally, it's just random stuff, grocery lists, screenshots, memes. But this time, it was different. The first picture was of her at a restaurant I'd never seen before, smiling across the table. The second, her holding a glass of wine, hand in the frame, not her hand. Bigger, darker, with a watch I didn't recognize. The third, her and the guy full-on kissing, like it was the most casual thing in the world. I stared at those pictures for what felt like forever. I wasn't even angry at first, just numb, like my brain was buffering and couldn't process the file. Then my heart started pounding, so hard it hurt. I knew this wasn't some old fling from before we met. She was wearing the hoodie I'd bought her for our anniversary last month. And here's the kicker. The metadata on the photos said they were taken the exact same day she told me she was picking paint with Melissa. My hands were shaking so bad I almost dropped my phone. But instead of confronting her right then, I copied everything to my own folder, emailed it to myself, and even printed a set to stash in my car. Because I had a gut feeling this was going to get way uglier before it got better. That night, I couldn't keep it in anymore. I waited until after dinner, when she was on the couch with her legs curled up, scrolling TikTok. Me, Claire. I saw the photos. Her head snapped up. What photos? Me. The ones you accidentally uploaded. The restaurant. The guy. The kiss. There was this half-second pause, like her brain was speed-running through excuses. And then she laughed. She actually laughed. Claire, oh my God, are you serious? That's my cousin Dave. He's going through a breakup, and he needed a practice date to get his confidence back. We were just messing around for the camera. I just stared at her. My cousin Dave? He lives in another state. I'd met him twice, and he was married. And kissing your cousin, for practice, is, well, it's not something normal people do. Me. Claire, you were wearing the anniversary hoodie I gave you. The one you wore the day you said you were with Melissa. Claire. Right, because I wanted to feel cozy. And Melissa? Well, she met us after for dessert. Maybe that's what you're confused about. The way she layered her lies, stacking one on top of another. It was almost like she was daring me to call her bluff. The old me would have yelled, demanded answers, maybe even thrown her out. But the 21-day challenge had rewired me just enough to realize she was never going to admit anything. I needed to plan my exit, not my argument. So I smiled, said, okay, and went upstairs to journal like nothing had happened, all while planning the quietest escape of my life. 3 days later, I was at the gym, my safe place during all this, when I saw a guy I vaguely recognized from somewhere. Tall, athletic, maybe mid-30s, wearing a baseball cap low over his eyes. He kept glancing at me between sets, and it started to get weird. Finally, when I was at the water fountain, he walked up. Him. You're Claire's husband, right? My stomach dropped. Yeah, who are you? Him. I'm Mark. I think we should talk. We stepped outside into the parking lot, and he rubbed the back of his neck like he didn't even know how to start. Mark, I didn't know she was married. She told me she was divorced. We've been seeing each other for about 4 months. I swear, the world around me just dulled, like someone had turned the volume down on reality. Mark went on, explaining how they met at a networking mixer downtown, the kind Claire had told me she hated. He even described her anniversary hoodie, how she said it was a gift from her late grandmother. Every detail was like another nail in the coffin. The worst part? Mark wasn't some sleazy guy. He looked genuinely sick about it. He even offered to send me texts and photos to prove he wasn't lying. I told him to send them to my email, the same one where I'd stashed all my evidence. As I drove home, I realized the challenge's lesson for that day had been about separating emotion from decision-making. Well, I was officially done with emotion. This was now about survival and self-respect. By this point, I had more than enough to confront her and blow everything up, but that would give her the drama she thrived on. The challenge's module for that day was about designing your environment to get the result you want. I figured, why not apply that to my marriage exit strategy? Step 1 was to stop tipping her off. So, I acted normal. I still kissed her on the cheek in the morning, still asked about her day, still pretended to believe every word. That was hard, real hard, but it kept her relaxed. Step 2 was to get all my ducks in a row: personal bank account, backup apartment lined up, important documents locked in my car. She didn't notice a thing. Step 3, the trap. I wanted her to reveal herself so fully there'd be no way she could spin it to friends or family. So I accidentally left my phone unlocked on the kitchen counter one night, with the screen open to a fake text thread. The conversation looked like it was between me and a female coworker. All friendly, a little flirty, but harmless enough to not be blatant cheating. Within an hour, she was pacing the living room, muttering under her breath, checking my phone whenever I left the room. The hypocrisy would have been funny if it didn't make me sick. 2 days later, she took the bait. Accused me of emotional cheating, screamed about betrayal, and then slipped. She said, "At least I'm not hiding anything like you are." That was the moment I knew she felt guilty enough to assume I was doing exactly what she had been doing for months. I just smiled, let her storm upstairs, and quietly thought, "You're almost done here, Claire. You just don't know it yet." It was a Sunday morning, and Claire was going to yoga. Normally, she wore leggings and a loose hoodie when she went, but this time she was dressed like she was heading to a rooftop brunch. Hair done, makeup perfect, heels in her bag. I didn't say a word, just gave her a casual, "Have fun." About an hour later, I got a text, not from her, but from Mark. "Dude, she just walked into the cafe I'm at." With another guy? Not me. It was almost comical at this point. She was juggling 2 men besides me, and now they were crossing into each other's territory. Mark sent me a quick photo. Claire, sitting at a table, leaning forward, holding the guy's hand. The guy looked mid-40s, suit jacket, Rolex. Definitely not Cousin Dave. I didn't rush down there. I didn't cause a scene. I just saved the picture to my ever-growing evidence folder. When she came home later, she tossed her gym bag down and said, "Yoga was amazing. I feel so centered." I asked, "Oh yeah? How was the cafe?" Her face froze for half a second before she gave this wide, fake smile. "What cafe?" That was it. The mask was off. She was in too deep to even keep her own lies straight. That night, while she slept, I moved the rest of my important stuff into my car. I had a quiet, cold clarity in my chest. The challenge had one final week to go, and it felt like it was counting down to her eviction notice. Day 18 of the challenge was about taking decisive action without emotional residue. I woke up that morning knowing exactly what I was going to do. Claire was still in bed when I left for work. Or so she thought. In reality, I drove to the bank, withdrew the last of my share from our joint account, and deposited it into my new one. Then I dropped off the signed lease for my new apartment. By noon, the movers I'd secretly hired were at our house. I had told them exactly what was mine, what to take, and what to leave. They worked fast. Within 2 hours, my entire life was neatly packed in their truck. The last thing I did before leaving was place a neatly organized folder on the kitchen table. Inside, printed copies of all the photos, hers and Mark's, screenshots of texts, a timeline of her lies, dates and all, a copy of the apartment lease in my name. I also left a sticky note on top. "You've been busy. Now it's my turn." I didn't block her number. I didn't scream. I didn't slam a door. I just drove away, turned in my keys at the new place, and sat on the bare living room floor feeling free. My phone blew up that night. 27 missed calls, 14 voicemails, texts ranging from, "I can explain," to "You're pathetic for not facing me like a man." I didn't answer a single one. For the first time in months, I slept like a rock. The first 2 days after I left, she was all rage and insults. The third day, it flipped. Suddenly, she was sending long messages about misunderstandings and, "We can fix this if you just talk to me." By day 5, she was at my new apartment door. I hadn't given her the address. She must have followed me or gotten it from someone. She was in leggings, no makeup, trying to look pitiful. "Claire, can we just talk? Please? I can explain everything." Me. "There's nothing to explain. I know it all." "Claire, no you don't. You don't understand the pressure I've been under. I was experimenting. I needed to feel alive again." That phrase, experimenting, made my skin crawl. She was framing betrayal like it was some kind of personal growth project. When I didn't let her in, she switched to tears, leaning against the door, saying she missed me, that she couldn't sleep without me. I kept my voice calm and said, "Claire, this conversation is over. Please don't come here again." She didn't like that. The next morning, I found a note taped to my door. "If you won't hear my side, everyone else will." And that's exactly what she started doing, calling mutual friends, spinning wild stories about how I abandoned her and fabricated evidence because I'd been cheating. The 21-day challenge had a section about expecting resistance when making life changes. I was living it in real time. But instead of letting her pull me back into the drama, I doubled down on my silence. It was killing her more than any fight could. I was at work when I got a text from Sam, one of my closest friends, and, unbeknownst to Claire, someone I trusted completely. "Dude, we need to talk. Claire's been telling people some crazy stuff. But more than that, I found out something you don't know." My heart raced. I thought I'd seen all the cards she was hiding, but apparently not. That night, we met at a quiet bar, away from prying eyes. Sam leaned in and said, "Claire's been talking to some guy, not Mark or Dave or whoever else. This one's different. He's married, and she's been lying about it for months." I felt my stomach drop again. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" I wasn't sure how to bring it up, man. And honestly, I was worried about making things worse. Sam handed me screenshots of secret texts he'd intercepted between Claire and this new guy. Sweet, flirty, and full of plans to meet when she was free. I sat there, stunned, feeling like the ground had crumbled beneath me again. The 21-day challenge had me focusing on truth and clarity, but here I was, drowning in lies deeper than I ever imagined. This wasn't just a betrayal anymore. It was a maze. I sat in my empty apartment that night, staring at the glowing screen of my phone, reading those screenshots again and again. Claire wasn't just cheating. She was living a double, maybe even triple life. And somehow, I had been blind to every sign. But the 21-day challenge kept echoing in my mind. You can't control others, only how you respond. I realized this maze wasn't going to trap me if I didn't let it. The next day, instead of calling her or spiraling into anger, I took a long walk. I cleared my head and started writing down what I wanted my future to look like, without her lies, without the constant betrayal. I texted Claire just one sentence. "I know everything. This ends now. No begging, no questions. Just finality." Her reply? Silence. For the first time, I felt a flicker of control again, like maybe, just maybe, I was reclaiming my life. After sending that last text, I felt this strange mix of relief and emptiness. It was like the storm had passed, but the wreckage was everywhere. The challenge's next lesson was all about boundaries, learning to protect your energy and your peace. I had to figure out what that looked like now. I blocked Claire on all social media, changed my phone number, and asked Sam to be my buffer in case she tried reaching out through mutual friends. It felt harsh, but necessary. I also started going back to therapy, something I'd neglected in the chaos. Talking about what happened, unpacking the betrayal, and learning to trust myself again. Slowly, I began saying no to toxic habits, like scrolling her Instagram, replaying arguments, and replaying the lies in my head. Most importantly, I started journaling every morning, writing affirmations about my worth and my future. Some days it felt like talking to an empty room, but over time, those words started to stick. I was learning to rebuild myself, not around her, but for me. It was day 20 of the challenge, and I was sitting at my favorite coffee shop, journaling like usual, when my phone buzzed. An unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something told me to pick up. "Hey," said Claire's voice, softer, quieter than I'd heard in months. "I'm not here to fight," she said. I needed to say I'm sorry. For everything. For lying, for hurting you." I was silent for a moment, the flood of emotions crashing over me. Anger, sadness, relief. "I don't expect you to forgive me," she continued. "I just wanted you to know. I hope you find peace." That call didn't fix everything, but it felt like the last piece of the puzzle, a final truth, no games attached. I replied quietly, "Thanks. I'm working on that." And with that, I finally felt the weight start to lift. Looking back on those 21 days, it wasn't just about reprogramming my mind for success in some vague, corporate way. It was about reclaiming my life from chaos and lies. Claire was bitter, manipulative, and skilled at hiding the truth. But I learned that no amount of deceit can hold power over you if you decide to take control. The biggest surprise? The most important challenge wasn't her B. Document everything. When you're hurt, emotions cloud your judgment. Facts don't. Don't chase explanations or apologies. Focus on your healing. Set firm boundaries, even if it means tough love. Seek support, therapy, friends, anything that reminds you you're not alone. And finally, remember that you deserve peace, no matter what lies someone else tells you. It's been a painful road, but I'm walking it one step at a time. And for the first time in a long time, I'm hopeful about the future. Thanks for reading, Reddit. If you've been through something like this, or just need to talk, I'm here.